Hi, everyone.
Hello again. Over 30 years ago, we were fresh out of the Watchtower, and we were unable, of course, to reach our JW relatives except by drastic means like using the media or public demonstrations. And we did public demonstrations in the two most prominent places we could find, because they had been chosen by the Society, the Watchtower Society, as the venues for their district assemblies. That was Maple Leaf Gardens, the home of the Toronto Maple Leafs in downtown Toronto. And then, a year or so later, they'd make the Sky Dome, now called Rogers Centre, which is also further down in downtown Toronto near the lake, and that's that huge building at the base of the CN Tower that you see in all the pictures of Toronto. That Sky Dome, now Rogers Centre, was fresh. So at those two protests that we did in front of Maple Leaf Gardens and the Sky Dome, we used several aids in case we got people coming up and asking us for more information about what we were doing.
So it was mostly for the public.
And for the press.
And for the press. We put something together so we could hand out. And this was it.
This was it. 15 million stolen lives. We gave that out to several members of the press, and it resulted in a couple of articles in the Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun, the two biggest papers in Toronto and even in Canada at the time.
Yeah.
And this is the document.
You should read that subtitle.
It's 15 million stolen lives, the incalculable cost of cult involvement. So we'll read that to you, because this is what we wanted to get across to people who knew very little about Jehovah's Witnesses, which is most people, and dramatize the predicament that Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are in. Approximately 15 million have given their lives to the Watchtower. About 5 million have died in its web. What's the correct term for a crime of this magnitude, the stealing of 15 million lives? Theft? Fraud? Or is stealing a life just another kind of murder? Watchtower leaders will laugh at this accusation. Jehovah's Witnesses, they will maintain, are not compelled either to join or to stay. But surely theft is too mild a term for what the Watchtower gets away with. Leaving aside the purely religious question, the ultimate destiny of these millions, is the Watchtower at all accountable for these 3 generations that have perished, believing promises never realized? Now, I said 3 generations here. This is 30 years ago. It's now 4 generations, of course. And the number, some have asked us before, what did you mean when we dropped that number in one of our videos?
Right.
What do you mean 15 million? Well, we're not just talking about publishers. If you add up the number of publishers, there's now
8 million.
There's now 8.
Yeah.
So if you add all the publishers up, and then all the people who are family members who were, well, let's face it, mind-controlled or brainwashed by the Watchtower, but never made a commitment.
Yeah. And all the people who study and then don't make a commitment either. So a lot of people are touched by witnesses in their lives, and it can have a long-lasting impact.
Devastating, because after all, they will then, for the rest of their lives, unless they find themselves in another faith, for some reason, just assume that the Watchtower is telling the truth about other religions. So though they may never become Jehovah's Witnesses, they end up being paralyzed religiously for the rest of their lives. So the track goes on. The cult's growth has been exponential. Fewer than 10,000 in 1920, 100,000 in 1945, a million by 1970. Over 4.3 million presently publishing, as the Watchtower describes its missionary outreach. And of that is now doubled. Fear fuels this growth. Armageddon is the prod, paradise the carrot, just as it was in 1874, 1878, 1914, 1918, 1925, 1941, and 1975. Always just over the hill.
Jehovah's Witnesses may not be compelled to join the cult. They are, however, gradually coerced, perhaps better, cowed, into lifelong submission and unquestioning obedience to its dictates. The power of the Watchtower leadership is effectively absolute. Jehovah's Witnesses are encouraged to view the organization as mother, Big Mother, to adapt Orwell, inasmuch as the method of manipulation is much the same as 1984's organization. He who controls the present controls the past. He who controls the past controls the future. So that was a quote from 1984. Jehovah's Witnesses will be captive as long as Mother keeps the family album. She shrewdly chooses which snapshots from the Watchtower past JWs are allowed to see. Their airbrushed history shapes also the witnesses' self-image, as well as their vision of the future. The Watchtower's official history might not be fiction, but it is fraudulent. Enough has been omitted to change the picture completely.
The Watchtower strategy for dealing with accusations by apostates who discover this cover-up, especially the date-setting blunders, is three-faced. One, for the public, the humble face. We never claimed to be infallible. Two, for the loyal membership, the velvet glove hides an iron fist in your face. We may not be infallible, but you'd better behave as if we are. Three, for the ex-JW, the scorned mother face. You told us we're not infallible. You're dead. Orwellian doublethink indeed.
If I saw this farce in a Peter Sellers movie or picture, I might laugh. But in real life it hurts too much. Even if David and I didn't believe the Watchtower gospel dooms our family and friends, which we do, even if all they are losing is past, present, and future of this life, the Watchtower's world can endure only while viewed by candlelight. The second the searchlight is thrown on, the illusion evaporates. Like all authoritarian regimes, the Watchtower survives by squashing scrutiny and dissent. We want to tell those we love the Empress has no clothes. She won't deliver in the future, just as she never delivered in the past. We want to tell them that their sacrifices, education, careers, broken families, and families never begun, are totally in vain. There are no lasting rewards in any of it, not in this life, nor in any other. Aren't those who never received promised wages victims of fraud? Haven't they unwittingly become slaves? We believe the Watchtower should and will be brought to bar for these stolen lives.
I think the number would now have to be adjusted, so we'd be talking somewhere between 20 and 25 million at least who've been convinced that the Watchtower has the truth, and therefore have lived fruitless lives, wasted lives, or paralyzed lives.
Yeah. Because, you don't think into, them saying that you have the freedom to come and go. Well, I was raised in it, and all my family are in it. What freedom does that give me? I did leave, but I left at the cost of losing my family. That's the cost.
And this tract and the conversations we had with the reporters down there led to several lengthy articles in the newspapers, as we said, and then a reaction from your family.
Yeah, so Rosie DeMano, she was a star reporter, and she interviewed us, but there was a write-up in the Sun as well. And my sister must have read it, because I got this very angry phone call chewing me out for what she said was, "How dare you air the family laundry in public?" And I asked her, did I say anything that wasn't true? At this point in my life, I felt like I wanted to warn other people not to get involved. My mother, when she became involved, didn't know there was a chance she was going to lose a daughter.
Yeah.
Because she became a witness. But that's real, and people should know that before they get involved. So it was as much about prevention as it was trying to have a voice.
And plus,
they shut down on you.
Plus, at the time, we were desperate, because what other way did anyone have at that time of getting the message across, not just to the public who are victims, potential victims, but to the press who know next to nothing about all the cults.
Yeah.
And so public demonstrations we did for a few years, and that led to media, radio and TV appearances and documentaries.
Yeah.
But there was no internet in those days, so you were forced to.
You had very limited means of reaching out. I didn't feel there was much way that I could reach JWs and friends that I loved and my family, except by picketing or
training,
a demonstration of love.
Demonstration of love, and also by helping Christians to better minister to witnesses, because they could talk to them.
That's right. So we really relied on Christians who oftentimes had us come and speak, give them some idea of what the Watchtower and the Witnesses' life is about. I hoped it created in them a sympathy for them, so that they would take the time to try and reach them. And we had family members of witnesses that would come and talk with us as well and need help.
Yeah.
Those were our only means, really.
But thank the Lord for internet and YouTube, because now we can reach the hundreds and thousands, maybe, of people that we only prayed we could reach in those days, and we had no practical way of doing it.
Yeah.
So the bottom line here is we've got to do what's necessary, all of us, to make this information available to the general public, and especially to the witnesses who are more closed now, if anything. They're more big brother-like now, big mother-like now, than they were even then, in terms of their dumbing down of even their education of their members.
And their paranoia and their strictness about access to information. It's harder for them to not, to control their people.
It sure is.
So they're doubling down, I think, because of that.
So let's all redouble our commitment to reaching all of them with this kind of information. Yeah. So if you want a PDF of this that we just read, 15 Million Stolen Lives, just send along. Many of you will have our email already. If not, we'll post it in the comments.
And we're going to link to 2 videos. One was, do you know any isolated, wounded ex-JWs? One way you can help is by liking videos that you think would be helpful to other ex-witnesses.
And subscribe.
That will generate interest in our site.
We should have said that more emphatically in the past.
Yeah, we hardly ever say that, but
subscribe.
It would help.
Subscribe, and also ring that little bell beside the subscribe button under the video.
Then you'll always get notices, and like things, so that it'll generate interest in that video. And then a second video that we did was 30 years out, there is life after the Watchtower. We want to give these people who feel very depressed some hope.
Of community now.
Yeah, and there is.
And hope for the future. So we'll link those 2 videos. See you next time.
Yeah.